My boss is a tuck-in-your-shirt Nazi, among other things, so I found a loophole in the dress code where I don't have to tuck in my shirt. What things have you done by the books just to pee off your boss? Alright, folks, so there's actually a story attached to the prompt, so it's like story 0 or story point 1. I don't know what to call it, but we're just going to jump in with that one, I guess. So let's get going. Little background story. My boss is a huge douche. All he does all day long is walk around and make sure everyone has their shirt tucked in, and generally be a negative prick who everyone hates. So I come into work on my birthday the other day, and my friend runs up to me and yells, "Kaizen 420, happy B-Day!" right in front of my boss's office. He looks up and says, "Kaizen 420! I'm thinking he's going to say happy birthday since he no doubt heard her. Instead he said, "Yeah, go ahead and tuck your shirt in, Kay?" And he does the hand signal like he's tucking in an imaginary shirt. So I say, "Okay, no prob. I just have to put my stuff down real quick and I'll take care of it." So I walk over to my desk, which takes approximately 7 seconds to get to. I go to put my stuff down, and as I am, he comes up behind me again and says, "Kaizen, I said to tuck in your shirt." So I quickly tuck it in, and as he's walking literally right by me, I say, "Sorry, I just had to put my stuff down first." And he walks by like I never said a word. Immediately, I bust out my HR manual and check out the rule on tucked-in shirts. Turns out you must tuck in all shirts except a Hawaiian shirt or a Guayabera shirt. Sorry for my pronunciation. So I take my butt to Walmart and buy 10 of those effers and wear the most obnoxious Hawaiian-looking shirt the next day. The second I walk in, he looked me up and down, glared, turned around, and walked away. When everyone asked why I was wearing such a ridiculous shirt, I told them about the loophole, and now half my office is wearing Hawaiian shirts, and it's driving my boss crazy. All within the guidelines outlined by company policy. So, what have you been able to stick it to the man by playing by their rules? I absolutely love stories like this because, folks, if there's one thing that you need to do whenever you get some new job, you need to know the rules. Not just so that you can follow the rules and not get in trouble, but so that you can use them to your advantage. Because if you end up having a boss who's a real piece of crap like that one, then use the rules for your own nefarious purposes. You have my blessing. Now let's read some stories about people who did just that. Story 1. I used to work at the Jaws ride at Universal Studios, Florida. Our uniform consisted of a blue t-shirt, jeans or jean shorts, white socks, and white shoes. The unofficial dress code had all of us girls wearing jean shorts and white knee socks. One summer, I ended up working the Jaws ride and the Jungle Cruise at Walt Disney World simultaneously. I love Disney and had always wanted to work there, but I ended up finding it stifling with all sorts of silly and over-the-top rules. At the Jungle Cruise, you wear a khaki shirt, khaki shorts or pants, white socks, and brown shoes. One day, I didn't have any normal-sized socks to wear to the Jungle Cruise, so I ended up wearing my white knee-highs, which looked ridiculous with the jungle costume. When I got to work, one of my managers flipped his crap, told me my socks weren't in compliance with the Disney look, the official policies on how to dress at Disney, and made me roll my socks down. It looked like I was wearing little white life preservers around my ankles and looked more out of place than they looked originally. I was annoyed, so when I went home, I scoured my Disney look booklet for the policies pertaining to socks. All I could find was that socks had to be long enough to cover the ankle bone. There was no maximum height. Hell, I could have worn white tights under my khaki shorts if I really wanted to. The next day, I wore my knee-high socks again as a small act of rebellion. The same manager was there and he flipped out. He actually pulled me into the office to write me up, but before he could get me to sign the paperwork, I pulled out my copy of The Disney Look and showed him that, while incredibly silly looking, my socks were perfectly acceptable, and that I would continue wearing them like that. And so I did. I looked stupid, but I didn't care. Working for Disney wasn't a pleasant experience in my opinion, and it was very liberating to know that I could at least wear my socks however the hell I wanted to. Magnificent. I love that. because that's perfect. You're absolutely following the rules 100%, but your boss, who really needs to, maybe go see a doctor or, a tree cutter to get the stick out of his or her butt, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Do it. Do the thing that makes your boss upset if you're following the dang rules, because if they're being unreasonable, then just counter them by being extra reasonable. Story 2. Back when I was working and attending classes, I would go straight from campus to work, getting me there anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes early before my shift. On occasion, my boss would ask me to help him out with something before I clock on, putting something away, or answering the phone. Over the span of a couple months, this evolved from occasionally to every day your shift starts when you get here. After doing this for a couple weeks, still clocking in at my usual 3 p.m., I decide that if I'm working for a few extra minutes each day, I'm gonna get paid for it. I did this once, and I didn't make it an hour into my shift before my boss was screaming at me and throwing down the employee handbook saying that I'm only allowed to clock in 5 minutes before and after my scheduled shift. Needless to say, I made it a point to not check in until 5 minutes after my scheduled shift every day, no matter how early I was. Fast forward 3 months, and my boss gets fired. He got what was coming to him. It is in fact illegal for your employer to fail to pay you for doing any sort of work for them under the Fair Labor Standards Act, whether it's part of your normally assigned duties or not. Story 3. When I was working at an Office Max about 10 years ago, I was the only employee who didn't smoke. Needless to say, everyone in the building took a 15-minute smoke break 2 to 3 times a shift, and I squatted. One day I asked the manager if I could have a clean air break, and he was confused. I explained that since smokers can have their 15-minute breaks 2 to 3 times a shift, I should be able to step outside and do the same without having to smoke. Irked my manager, but he knew he had to let me to avoid any discrimination. This is such a better idea than what I did. I had a job where the only friends I had on the job were going out for smoke breaks, and they were going out 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a shift to have, a little 5-10 minute smoke break out back of the factory factories, a shop, whatever. And so to go out and hang out with them, I just started smoking. Don't do that. I smoked from probably 26 until I was 30. I don't really smoke anymore at all. Maybe an occasional cigar, once every couple years. But this is a smarter way to get those breaks. Story 4. While I was in the Navy, it was recommended that I get an extensive surgery on my ankle. My command felt that I didn't deserve a bunch of time off for a surgery, so they said they would approve it, but none of the convalescent leave. They refused to sign any paperwork. First thing I did was hit them with the regulation stating that they were required to respond to all requests within a certain amount of time, 3 days, I think. They respond with a no. So then I had Navy Legal draw up paperwork with accordance to regulations that my command would be responsible for 100% of my medical care if they did not abide by doctor's orders. I then let them know that would mean that all of my medical care would then be handled by civilians and the command would be responsible for paying the bill out of their budget. They approved my surgery, convalescent leave, and convalescent leave extension. Story 5. On the flip side, I'm the boss enforcing policy. When I took over the department, the old boss told me that the reason the place looked like crap was because when he asked a sales associate, base pay plus commission, to clean or put up stock, they claimed it wasn't in their job description. The main boss backed them up, calling it a technicality. I pulled out the description and read out other duties as assigned by the manager on the last line. 2 out of 9 quit. My department is now clean and stock is always up. Sales are consistently up. I'm cool with that. Story 6. Not really my boss, but my school principal, who was really like a boss to me as a kid. I was at an Opus Dei school, so the nuns were pretty effing strict, and I hated the effing salads they gave us. I found multiple ways to hide the food because you can't throw food when there are millions of people starving, until one day I just went with the tray half full to dump it all. The nun went ballistic, and I just said, "I'm full. Gluttony is a sin," and threw it all. That got me in trouble. I was 9. Oh, see, that was your mistake, though. Of course you still got in trouble, because you actually brought up a rule that was in the Bible. It's a Christian school. They don't care about the rules in the Bible unless it, benefits them. There are plenty of good Christians out there who are not like that, but I think we all know there are plenty of Christians out there who are like that. Story 7. At a former workplace, the dress code was changed. Men were no longer allowed to wear shorts. Women could wear skirts. I started wearing a kilt because skirts were okay in the rule book. Same thing happened at my school. Several guys wore kilts for a few days, then all on the same day, about half the guys in the whole school wore skirts. Lady skirts. It was wonderful. Story 8. When I was in grade 4, pizza was sold at lunch for $1.50 a slice. I saw a business opportunity and went to the Little Caesars a stone's throw away from school and bought 10 hot and ready $5 pizzas and sold the slices for $1, $1.25 on Friday. When the school told me I couldn't sell pizza on school property, I moved my office to my aunt's house, which was next door, so every day at lunch the kids would walk to the neighbor's front yard, buy pizza, and come back to school. I was making a tidy sum every day. Story 9. When I worked at Best Buy, the dress code was black shoes, pants, belt, and tucked-in blue shirt. I never wore a belt nor tucked my shirt in because as a chubster, when kneeling and organizing DVDs on the bottom shelf, the shirt comes untucked and the belt cuts into my belly. First world problems, huh? Anyway, my boss would constantly freak me out for not having my shirt tucked in and finally get on my case for not wearing a belt either. So I checked the dress code, found it said belt if there are belt loops on the pants or something, so I found an X-Acto knife and cut off my belt loops. The next morning I come in and she says, "Where's your belt?" I grinned at her and said, "Where's my belt loops?" and gave her the biggest crap-eating grin I could muster, one of my finest moments. Except your pants look stupid. Story 10. I used to work for this small town twice a week. The editor and publisher, mayor, county commissioner, and a few other people were skimming tax dollars. When I confronted my boss about it, he told me he'd blackball me if I said anything. So I went to the local television station, tipped them off, and they uncovered the story. When they won their awards, my name was added to the list of reporters. I still can't get a job as a journalist, but damn if it didn't feel good. I mean, I don't even know if this is like finding a loophole in the rules to get away with something, because, I mean, you kind of didn't get away, but you went against what your boss told you for moral reasons, for the greater good, and I think that might be even better than my, vengeful, evil little, delight that I take in these other stories. You're just doing the right thing, and that's awesome. Great. Story 11. Not work-related, but school. In high school, I wore a freecondoms.com t-shirt to school. I was called down to the principal's office after 3 to 4 hours. My cool teachers thought it was awesome in the AM classes, and was told I was promoting abhorrent behavior. I posited that I was in fact trying to prevent unwanted pregnancies. I lost my fight and was told I had to leave if I did not have another shirt. Rather than leaving, I put a sticky note over the M in condoms and spent the rest of the day harassing faculty about fantastic lakeside condos that I was giving away for free. Story 12. Not my story, but a coworker. Worked at a water park. Supervisor was a bee who wouldn't let the lead guards at the top of the tallest slide in the park go to the bathroom. Guard at the top is radioing that he needs to take a crap, but she won't let him. Mind you, the lead guards are allowed to ride down every once in a while to make sure no tubes are stuck. Lead guard is about to crap his pants in front of a ton of guests, so he goes into the utility closet and craps in a bucket of cat litter we kept to clean up vomit. He then proceeds to ride down the slide to clean himself off and leaves the supervisor to clean up his bucket of crap. If you are a supervisor, a manager, whatever has you in charge of other people, and you try to not let them go to the bathroom, you should lose your job. Plain and simple. And if the, store, company, whatever, has that policy, A, I don't think that's legal, and B, that business should get dragged through the mud. That's inhumane. Let people go to the bathroom or they're gonna poop in buckets and wipe their butt on a water slide. Story 13. You can't have beer in the front seat of your car, so I went ahead and replaced the front seat with a back seat. Story 14. Used to work at a TV station. Absolutely awful management and horrible bosses. Complained about it to friends all the time. Someone even asked me on Facebook about my job, and I would reply, but I knew I could get fired for speaking ill of the company. So I read the HR handbook and found out that as long as I don't specifically name the company, I can't be fired for it. So about a month later, I realized I can't take this crap anymore and post on Facebook how terrible my job is, never mentioning the company by name. They fired me a day later. I gladly walked out of that building and into a lawyer's office. Got $17,800, my yearly salary. Seriously. Feels good, man. Story 15. Worked in one corporate kitchen where our GM didn't like our music, so he would put on children's music. So we all started singing along at the top of our lungs. We won that war of attrition. Years later in another kitchen, we had surround sound in a closed kitchen where the uppity GM did not like our music and started passing draconian censorship rules about the music. So we switched it to children's music for a week. The moral of the story is never underestimate the power of a kitchen crew of misfits singing Banana Phone at the top of their lungs. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.